Terrarian in the Dungeon, Chapter 49 Fan Fiction by Azazyel. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel for listening and patreon.com/Azazyel to read all of his stories. Coming back into the main shop area where the other girls were grilling Heath about what happened with Evilus, they all whirled on me as they wanted to get the story from the source and person who was there from the beginning. Well, all the goddesses and Beatrice did. Belle, on the other hand, was far more interested in something more important, at least to her. "Jake, you leveled up?" Belle excitedly asked, and at my nod, she threw up her hands as she exclaimed. "Congratulations for breaking the record, Jake." Seshet proudly smiled beside me as though it was partly her own accomplishment, as the other girls, including Hestia, gave me some form of congratulations or another. Though Hestia's were more along the lines of, "Good job, Jake, but don't rest on your laurels because my Belle is going to overtake you." Yeah, that kind of nonsense. "So, Heath, would you like me to escort you outside so you can make your way home?" I asked the Freya Familia member that got shoved into my life. And like Freya herself, she merely smiled, shaking her head as she tried to have a reason to latch onto me. "Jake, if it's alright with you, I would like to discuss the pros and cons between my healing magic and perhaps your potions. Let's see if we can draw any inspiration from one another." She asked excitedly with a welcoming smile aimed at me, but with Seshet's repeated warnings about her. I could see it. I could see the trailer park, the tweaker in her eyes. This girl was a broken mess, and worse, it wasn't even a chemical mess that you could sweat out. No, this girl had her soul twisted into knots under Freya's mere presence and was not even deliberately being charmed by the goddess. She literally got addicted and broken just on the contact high like people could just by touching fentanyl, and with the drug seeping in through the pores. Did I want to try to, as Seshet advised, mind break the girl back to normal? Like a badly set bone that never healed right and needed to be broken again to heal properly? No. Not particularly. Nah, that's okay. Here is a gift for helping me with the antidote, and tell Otter thank you for interceding," I said, pushing an extra shield of Cthulhu into her arms that I got for trading some Terrarian mana potions to people who didn't even want the shield, as they were mages or archers. I then firmly threw an arm over her shoulder as I escorted her outside of the shop, as I continued loudly monologuing which prevented her from getting a word in. Yeah, seriously, Otter was so cool with how he cut off the arm off the crazy chick. But no, seriously, did you guys see all the bombs going off? I hope the people around the area are alright. Hey, actually that's a great idea. You should take these potions and make sure all the civilians are alright, so here. I monologued before pushing a literal pile of potions into her arms, with the pile of haphazardly stacked glass vial potions literally being taller than her face, so she couldn't see how I pushed her outside the tower. "Have a nice night, and I wish the civilians of Ororio the best of luck," I said cheerfully as I closed the drawbridge into my tower, which then had the river of lava continue to flow as Heath's wide eyes stared at me with incredulity at my actions. I spent just taking a deep breath to recover from my monologuing before I nodded as I muttered. Got enough trouble in my tower. Seriously, it wasn't even like she was trying to hide how she wanted to spend longer here. Jake, you alright?" I heard Belle ask me as she came from behind me as I was just staring at the flowing wall of lava that was in front of myself. I snapped out of my mental lamentations as I looked behind me to see the cinnamon roll had changed out of her armor and was now just wearing a backless dress similar to what Ace typically wore, but instead of being blue with some white highlights. Hers were predominantly black with some white highlights. Honestly, with her pale skin, white hair, and red eyes, she had a bit of a Saber altar vibe with the dress, but she didn't have a Saber face at all. And frankly, she had bigger breasts. Yeah, just wondering what Freya's game is. Evilus has risen up from the shadows and... honestly, I can plan around hiding away from the adventures of Ororio. But the freaks from Evilus are literally broken disposable tools that have no qualms blowing themselves up in suicide bombings. I shook my head sadly before I shrugged, speaking. I can plan for Otter's strength, I can plan for Alan's speed. But how can I plan for a Powlum that looks like a child asking me to help find her parents, only to blow herself up with an alchemical bomb? I spoke hauntingly. I wasn't joking or exaggerating either. Both from reading the public files on Evilus's actions as well as actually seeing it in the Rio storylines in the Dan Memo game and other things, I knew Evilus had zero qualms throwing their lives away in order to accomplish a goal. Because in the end, the evil gods made a divine oath to take care of them in the afterlife so they could at least reincarnate even if it wasn't with any memories or anything. Belle just gave me a soft side hug as she squeezed my frame tightly for a second before only softly holding my arm as she joined me in staring at the lava. I heard you even fought alongside Ace Wallenstein, too. What was she like? Belle asked me softly as she leaned her head against the arm she was holding. I took a breath to calm myself, finally, after all the day's stress. Which consisted of dealing with bosses, Apollo dropping a fucking war game in my lap, Evilus attacking Aurelio in order to get me, and even the stress of worrying about what mods I needed to take for my future development. Ace Wallenstein is certainly a great fighter. She was like a graceful dancer with each step being a step to kill a monster. But that's just it, her style seemed to be tailor-made for sidestepping large monsters and carving them apart in the motion, so she had some issues with the level 5 that she was fighting, but then again, the woman was wielding an obviously cursed sword. So, Ace had to be cautious and not get cut at all. I explained with Belle's grip on me tightening. Do you like her? Belle asked me quietly, and I couldn't help but softly chuckling at the question, and Belle whined, swinging my arm that was in her grasp around. Don't laugh, Jake. It's a serious question. At Belle's pouting face, I couldn't help but laugh as I patted her white hair-covered head. Yeah, Belle, I totally like Ace Wallenstein. She is so adorable when she is making grabby hands and reaching for anything I dangle in front of her. I joked. Waha. Belle broke into giggles as she herself recalled Ace's face and actions when I mentioned how I could make a wind blade that would heavily strengthen her wind magic and be a lot more in tune with her fighting style than the large, cumbersome broadsword she had been using. Jake, that's not what I mean. Belle added, pouting, but I just flicked her forehead as I shook my head. Ace is trouble, both for how Loki wouldn't let her date anyone, especially outside her familia, but she also has a number of issues that makes dating difficult, or better but impossible, I said dryly as I turned back to enter the tower. Besides Belle, I got enough girls living in my house. I joked, making Belle grin wryly as I was certainly outnumbered in here. Oh, and would it be alright if we had a bit of a sleepover in celebration of your level up, like we had when we first came to stay with you guys? Belle asked me, and I shrugged, feeling a bit miffed about not spending the night with Seshet or Beatrice in bed, but some time with Belle could be fine as she was a sweetheart. I looked down to Belle head shorter form as she was walking beside me, and I agreed with a simple. Yeah, that would be cool. Sweet. I will bring snacks and stuff. Belle said excitedly as she ran into the shop ahead of me, giving me a moment to stop and just look up at the false star above me before I chuckled and went into the shop to hopefully just relax with a friend for a few hours before I slept and got dragged into Aurelio's mess in the morning.